Hi guys, welcome back to the channel.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Annie, and for the past 7 months we've been living van life in our trusty Volkswagen T3. In this video we want to give you an honest look at the pros and cons of living van life based on our personal experiences.
So if you're interested in learning about van life, then stick around and let's dive into the pros and cons of it. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more van life content. So a pro is getting to see and live in beautiful places.
So when you live in a van, the world is essentially your back garden. So you get to wake up in beautiful places, and the best part of it is that it's totally free. You're also in like the most stunning locations before anybody gets there, so you have them to yourself. You get to experience sunrise and sunset in places that otherwise you wouldn't really get to be at those times. So for me, I think that that's the best part of living in a van, that freedom of seeing beautiful places in that unique way.
And being able to call them your home for the couple of days that you're there.
As many days as you want. A con would have to be limited resources.
So when you live in your van, the biggest downside is probably having the limited resources. You quickly realise how frugal you have to be when it comes to water, using the toilet, doing the dishes, showering, your electricity. You don't have the luxury of having unlimited water, unlimited electricity like you do in your home. You always have to be thinking of how much water we have left, where can we get water next, what's the weather going to be like, how can we charge our batteries with our solar. So this is probably one of the biggest pains about living in a van, is just you have such limited resources. That can just be a little bit of an issue, but it's not the end of the world.
No, you get used to it.
Yeah, after a while you kind of realise that when you're washing the dishes you have to turn the tap on and off really quick because you only have 20 litres of fresh water, so you just have to be mindful of it. So another pro is how cheap you can travel for.
Van life can be very cheap depending on how you want to live it, and a lot of aspects affect the cost of living this lifestyle. For example, you can live for an entire month and you would still only spend what you would spend on a weekend city break. It's crazy. You can park up for free, so you have no accommodation cost, no bills, only food and diesel. So like, it is so cheap. And if you want to see how much our trip around Spain cost, you can check this video up here where we give you a cost breakdown of literally everything.
You won't believe how much it costs us to travel around for those 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. So another con would be living in a small space.
So when you live in a tiny van like ours, which is a Volkswagen T3, it can get very challenging at times, especially when there's 2 of us. And one thing people do not tell you about when you live in a van is how untidy it gets. Your van can get super untidy super quick, which is quite a pain. And once you end up cleaning the kitchen, 2 seconds later it's already messy again, so it's quite a pain.
Like, you literally blink and it's messy again. Like, it's unbelievable.
So when you're packing your van, getting ready to hit the road, you have to be super strategic on what you're going to bring with you, because you aren't able to bring everything. You may think you are, but trust me, it will not. Annie takes everything with her, and then it gets in our way.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That was super strategic.
Next. So another pro is getting to meet new people on the road.
Yeah, when you're on the road, it's so easy to make new friends. You're both living the same alternative lifestyle, so it's so easy to start a new conversation, to give each other tips, to share your route, where have you gone, give each other recommendations. It's just probably my favorite part about van life, just meeting new people. And it's crazy how quickly you get to be like so close. Also, your houses are probably parked beside each other, so you show each other your van and you go from being strangers to swimming in a river in like literally 5 minutes.
In one of the parkers we met this lovely French couple, Grace and Jordan, and
Hi.
we met them the day of the accident. Just after the accident we met them, and within 5 minutes we were down in the river swimming together. That's just the beauty of van life. You get to meet new people, talk to them, and 2 minutes later you're best of friends.
Yeah, we were so glad to meet them after the accident. It was just like really, I don't know, comforting. Yeah, that's the word. So following with the previous pro, a con would have to be having to say goodbye to your new friends constantly.
So when you are on the road, you are always constantly moving. You mightn't be going the same direction as the new friends that you made, and it comes to a point in time where you have to say goodbye to them, and that's probably one of the hardest part of van life. You make these friendships, they only last a couple of days, and then you're just moving on and you don't get to see them again. So it's great getting to meet new people and make new friends, but you have to say goodbye to them in the end.
A good thing is that with social media you can always stay in touch and see how they are getting on but yeah, it's really sad to say goodbye.
Like people we have met on the road over the last 7 months in Spain, we have stayed in contact with them through social media, so it's good that way we can keep up to date and see what they're doing, and perhaps in the future meet up again. Another pro is the freedom that van life gives you.
So when you're traveling around, you don't have to stick to any timetable. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want. You go somewhere, you really like it, you can stay as many days as you want. Or the other way around, you go somewhere and you don't like it, or the weather is not great that day for that activity. You can just move on to the next place and come back, or you can literally do whatever you want. It's like that waterfall in Galicia, we kept going back to it.
3 times.
3 times.
Or like when we were in 𝗙𝗎𝗪𝗏 in 𝗪𝗛𝗢𝗪, Annie liked it that much, we were only going to stay there a day, ended up staying about a week. On the way back, stopping at it again. So
yeah,
you can stop and stay wherever you want for as long as you want.
So another con is not having a fixed address.
So when you live in a van, this can be quite a challenge because you are always moving around, you're never going to be staying in the one spot, and not having a fixed address can be quite a pain if something does happen. So like for us, when we got into the accident, luckily enough we were fit to get an address and we could get our parts shipped to there and pick them up and get the van fixed. But if you're somewhere that you didn't have an address, this can be quite a pain because you're going to have to get it sent to like a post office or like an Amazon pickup point or something, and you aren't going to know I'm going to be in this location in 3 days or in 5 days, whatever it may be, or you don't know is the parcel going to arrive in time. So then you're going to have to stay in that area for another couple of days wasting time to get this part. So that is probably one of the biggest downsides of van life, is just not having that fixed address, or even if you want to get letters from home, it can be quite challenging. So another pro is you get to take your home with you wherever you go.
When you come back from spending time at the beach or on a hike, it feels so good to be home instantly. Your van is literally waiting for you there and you're home straight away. You don't have to start driving home or to your accommodation. You're just home all of a sudden. It's one of the best parts of it. I keep saying it's one of the best parts of it. But this one is a really good one. Also, it might sound silly, but if you go somewhere and the day takes a turn for the worse and it gets like really cold, you can just jump in your van and get a coat or get a hat or something that you would usually not carry with you. Your home is with you constantly. So
or even like that time we were up in the Pyrenees in Benasque, we went for a hike and it took longer than what we expected, and when we got back to the van it's starting to get dark and we were like, we couldn't be bothered driving another hour to our park up,
and so we were only after walking 18 kilometers.
So we'll just park here for the night.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it.
Another con would be the stigma around van life.
So you can pull up to an area and you can feel quite unwanted because there is more and more barriers going up, especially here in Ireland. We have noticed since even last year, the amount of barriers that have gone up on beaches is crazy. There's a stigma around van life that they don't want the vans being there. There's more and more signs going up saying no camper vans allowed, no overnight parking. So this here can be quite off-putting when you go to an area and you see all these barriers, all these signs, you feel unwanted in this area. Also, there is a lack of privacy with van life. I know you can be parked up in this beautiful place, the doors are open, you're just chilling in your van, somebody walks by, but they kind of have this sense that they have to look in, and you can be sitting there and some old person's walking by staring into your van and you just don't know what they're looking for. So this here can be quite weird when you're living in a van. So another pro you have is your connection with nature.
So when you live in a van, you find yourself more and more connected to nature. The best park ups are always the ones where you're beside a forest, beside a beach, beside water in general. These are literally the best park ups ever, and nothing beats waking up by the birds chirping, the sheep walking around your van. That's classic Ireland.
No matter where you go, you're going to be either woken up with sheep or cows or horses, something walking around your van.
So funny. Also, you live by the sun. Like, the sunlight is your new clock.
You're on like the same time frame as sun. Like it doesn't really matter what time of the day it is. You just go by the sun because you're trying to make the most out of it for your solar and everything. And yeah, you just end up living by it. You don't check the time. Yeah,
and you never miss a sunset. That's something that I really love. When you're in a house, you don't really see them as much.
It's very easy to miss a sunset when you're in a home.
Or sunrise.
But when you're in a van, open the curtain and you have sunrise, or just open the door and you have the most beautiful sunsets you can find in all of Europe.
Yeah, you're definitely way more connected to nature, and I really love this part of van life.
Yeah.
Another con would be something happening to your van.
So any van lifer's worst nightmare is something happening to our van, and unfortunately we had to experience this while on our trip, and we got into a car crash and we thought our van was going to be totaled, but thank God nothing was wrong with it. We were able to get it fixed and continue the journey, touch wood. So when you are living in your van, if anything happens to it, it either breaks down, you have to go to a garage. This can upset your plans, because if in the case that the garage lets you sleep in the van while it's there, then you're on a winner. But if not, you're going to have to go find accommodation. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and this is an expense that you didn't plan out for. Or in our case, where you got into an accident, if it was really bad and our van is ruined, where do we go from there? We are back to square one. We don't have a van. We are essentially homeless in this country because our home is all the way back in Ireland. So where are we going to go? So this is probably one of the worst nightmares that could happen to anybody living in a van, is something happening and you're not able to live in it.
Also related to the previous pro, you're connected to nature, but if like mice gets in your van or like insects or anything, you can't go anywhere. Like your van and your home is all in one, for the good and the bad.
Like luckily enough, we only found one mouse. We didn't end up finding it, but he got into our cupboards, ate our biscuits and left. But if you watch a channel like the 𝗹𝗏𝗄𝗏, you can see they were infested by mice. There was loads of them, and
flies.
Yeah, they were that bad with mice that they actually had to stay in a hotel and set traps, and their flies just kept coming into their van. So that's another way of being connected with nature. So another pro is reducing your carbon footprint.
Yeah, so when you have limited resources, you find yourself reducing your carbon footprint massively. Like you don't generate as much waste, you use very little water. Like for us, 20 litres does us 4 days.
On a recent trip we had 20 litres of fresh water when we left, and by the end of it, the last day is when we ran out.
Yeah.
But 20 litres, 4 days for 2 people.
And like when you're in a house, just think when you flush a toilet, that's 6 litres. Also electricity, you generate your own with the solar panel, so that's super eco-friendly and also free, which is the best part. So yeah, this is a very big point.
You can reduce your carbon footprint massively by living in a van.
Yeah. Another con is social isolation.
So when you are traveling in your van and it's like the off-peak season where there's not many other travelers around, this can get very lonely, and you can find yourself living in your van in the mountains, in the forests, and you mightn't see people for a couple of days, and this here can get quite lonely. So yeah, this is probably another downside of living in a van, not getting to meet new people and then being on your own for several days.
This is especially the case in winter van life.
Yeah, like we did winter van life in Spain, and there's days it can get very lonely and
very dark.
Especially because the sun sets at like 4:35 in the evenings, and you have to go find your park up. So you have 5 or 6 hours sitting in your van before you go to bed,
trying not to kill each other.
Came close a couple of times, but it can get quite lonely when you're living in your van and you don't have anybody to talk to, and you get kind of sick of talking to each other after 7 months of living in a tin box. So there you have it, guys. There is our pros and cons of living in a van, and if you want to learn how to save some money while living and traveling in a van, then check out this video right here, and once you're finished that, check out this video right here for an epic road trip through Ireland. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more van life content. Bye.